But first, the U.S. housing market showing signs of weakness during what is normally a peak selling season. Prospective home buyers are holding off, they say, due to some uncertainty related to tariffs and the economy and stubbornly high mortgage rates, even though they are way down from the highs. Rates slightly declining this week, the average 30-year now at 6.76%. Joining me right now is the U.S. Federal Housing FHFA Director and the chairman of both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Bill Pulte is with us this morning. Bill, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
I'm so happy to talk about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac with you. But you say under President Trump's leadership, Freddie Mac alone financed 224,000 mortgages in just the first quarter. Tell us more.
That's correct. But we have a lot of work to do after the last 4 years. We're going to have to reverse what Biden did. President Trump's the exact person to do it. I think he's going to do it. It's going to take a little bit of time because, frankly, there's so much devastation that's occurred in housing, Maria. You know, inflation just ravaged the housing market. People couldn't afford homes. People couldn't afford rent. And so thank God President Trump was elected. And we're focused every day at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on making sure that we can get mortgages and get the American dream back for all Americans.
So what did you do? You tried to clean out the place.
Well, we got rid of a bunch of different board members, and we basically are exerting the authority that the U.S. federal housing has and has always had. It's always been essentially the board chair, the board itself, the stockholders. And really what we're trying to do is run these things as businesses. What a novel idea, right?
Yeah,
Instead of running it like a bureaucrat or an academic or a professor, President Trump hired a businessman, and we're running them like businesses. Maria, they're safer and sounder than ever before. We've got a great balance sheet. You know, our LTV is around 50% loan to value on our balance sheet. We have $4.4 trillion at Fannie Mae. So things are very good. They will be very stable. We're very careful, but at the same time, we're making sure that these are assets that are used for the benefit of the American people.
So how does it work? Because these are also publicly traded stocks. Explain to investors how the U.S. government is overseeing this, and yet they still trade publicly.
Yeah, so the companies basically went into essentially bankruptcy in 2008, as everybody knows, and they went into conservatorship. And so I served through President Trump as the regulator as well as the conservator. And so you have these two different hats. It's quite unique what Congress has created in this position. But my main focus, Maria, is on creating value and helping President Trump restore the American dream for everyone. President Trump can do it alone, but what we're trying to do at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is really add support, especially on the financing and mortgage side. And I feel very confident President Trump's going to turn around the housing market. But the last 4 years in this housing market have been devastating for Americans.
What did Biden do that was so devastating?
Well, the big thing is inflation. I mean, you look at inflation, you look at drywall, you look at lumber. You know, President Trump had inflation under control. But when you have inflation ravaging the country, you have a supply crisis in housing that you have. It's just like a perfect bad storm. And President Trump's going to rectify it, in my opinion.
Well, he's already reined it in. I mean, look where oil prices are, look at rates. But what is it going to take to get mortgage rates down?
Well, I think President Trump's on that path. You know, there's nobody who knows the interest rates better than him. There's nobody who knows how to do this better than him. He's gotten oil prices down, gotten grocery prices down, egg prices down. I think that will flow through to mortgage rates.
Here's a quote from a TD Cowen report this morning. We believe the policy environment since the inauguration has improved considerably for banks, which should clear the way for them to return more capital to shareholders and get more aggressive on M&A. The deregulatory program that President Trump has instituted has not even become the topic of conversation. Everybody's focused on tariffs. Tell us about deregulation and what happens to these guys, Freddie and Fannie.
Well, I think he's going to do great on tariffs, to be frank. But on the regulatory side, we've cut, I think I've done through President Trump, over 50 orders, executive orders at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, getting rid of these nonsense Biden programs. I mean, the bureaucracy that was there, they had never even seen an FHFA director at some of these companies, from what I've been told. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, these are trillions and trillions of dollars worth of assets. And so we're going in there and doing it. And I think that, frankly, you've yet to see what's best to come from President Trump.
And already the analyst at Cowen says change is occurring far faster than we have seen at any point in our 35 years of following financial policy.
Yes.
Now, as part of that policy, are you going to actually spin these out to the public, or you still want to have this conservatorship as government predominant?
We'll see. This will be up to President Trump ultimately, but President Trump is the best deal maker that the country and the world's ever seen. So if there's one person who could do it, it's him. Ultimately, it'll be up to him. What my job is to make sure that we have operational efficiency, that we keep our options open. Frankly, we had 16,000 people, can you believe this, at the two companies. Nobody was working in the offices. They were making popcorn and burgers and hot dogs for people that weren't even showing up every day. So I ordered them all back to work, and under President Trump's leadership, these are going to be great American icons once again.
Wow, you just came in and you started throwing the gauntlet down. Well, at Fannie and Freddie.
President Trump makes it easy. You know
Good
what
for
I mean?
you.
He makes it easy.
You also launched a public tip line to combat mortgage fraud, encouraging people to report any fraudulent activities. What's the fraud going on there?
We have significant mortgage fraud in this country. It doesn't matter who you are. Nobody is above the law. If you are committing mortgage fraud, you are a risk to the system, and we are going to take the appropriate steps within our statutory capability.
Now, speaking of this, you actually referred Letitia James for criminal activity to the Department of Justice. Tell me about that.
Well, the letter speaks for itself. I don't want to comment on any specific case, but I will say that, people claiming that they live in certain states that they don't live in, people claiming other representations that are maybe not necessarily true. These are very big concerns to the mortgage market. It doesn't matter whether you're a welder, a plumber, a politician, an attorney. If you commit mortgage fraud, you are a risk to the system. And if we see it, we're going to have to say something. And I encourage everybody, if they see mortgage fraud, say something. We will take the appropriate action.
Well, do you think that the DOJ is going to take that recommendation? You referred her for criminal activity, Letitia James.
Well, I would refer you to the DOJ, and again, the letter speaks for itself. I would just say, as I said, that, occupancy fraud is a huge issue in the country, where people are basically getting loans based on and certain down payments and certain interest rates based on saying that they live in one area and not another, as well as saying that they should qualify for loans that maybe they shouldn't have. So, just generally speaking, my thought is that mortgage fraud is rampant, and we are doing everything we can. We've made a number of criminal referrals, not just the one that you mentioned, and we will continue to prosecute, within the confines of our statutory capability.
Bill, this is a very important and informative interview. We appreciate it.
You got it.
Thank you so much. Bill Pulte joining us this morning.